BodyBags, where horror lies.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm your thirsty guy for BodyBags, and this week I am doing The Devil All the Time. It's not necessarily a horror movie, but it is a very dramatic movie in the sense of what happens in the movie. It's very dark at times. There's a lot of dark themes in the movie. I'm not going to say much about it. I will give you the synopsis, right? What's it about? But first, I guess. It's directed by Antonio Compos. This is kind of an indie movie, but in the same time, not really. When you look at the cast, it's a really big cast. It came out in 2020. I guess the theaters, it came out on September 11th, and then on Netflix, it was like the 16th. I first saw this movie like the first week or two, or maybe a little later, but it was in 2020. I do remember that. And it's a very interesting movie to watch as a, I guess, 16-year-old who didn't really expect what he was walking into. But I had only watched it once, and it was that one time, and it's always kind of been in the back of my head because this was such an interesting movie in the sense of it kind of asked the question, why do bad things happen to good people? Or I guess in general, why do bad things happen? The synopsis of the movie is sinister characters converge around a young man devoted to protecting those he loves in a post-war backwoods town teeming with corruption and brutality. See, this is the kind of movie that give like a 5-10 minute review is not really giving it and serving justice to it. I'm honestly thinking and heavily considering maybe watching this movie once or two more times and then doing like a 30-minute review, because there's a lot of themes and ideas about this movie that are like, I feel like this is the kind of movie you can't just sit there, can't just watch it and be like, well, that was a fun movie to go and watch. It's not that kind of movie. It's the kind of movie that has you being like, sitting there thinking like Plato or Aristotle, and just think of the philosophy and maybe even theology of it all. Like, let me tell you the cast. So, watching the trailer and then seeing the cast, like, this is why I had originally watched the movie, because I'm like, oh, look, Tom Holland's in it. Bill Skardsgard's in it. Hey, Jason Clarkson. Oh, Sebastian Stan's in it. Robert Pattinson's in it. And there's a few others. But a lot of the other ones are like actors or actresses that are in like one or two things that are like, huh, that's interesting that they're here. Like, I think it's Mia Wasikowska. I think that's her. She was Alice in Alice in Wonderland, which is like, 2010s kind of movie. And seeing that, she was in this, I was like, huh, that's interesting. But, yeah, this is a very fascinating movie. And I would say, if you're thinking about, should I watch this movie or not, I would say you should. But you can't just go in there thinking, oh, I'm going to just watch just a whatever movie, because this is not just a whatever movie. This is a movie that does challenge you to a degree and makes you kind of ask questions, but then, you think about the movie and think about maybe even real life a little bit. And just, it just makes you think a lot, Basically, it's like, why do bad things happen to good people? Or just in general, why do bad things happen? But it also kind of asks, does anything and everything happen for a reason? Does specific things happen so that, something else could happen? Or like, can good things come out of bad things? So I guess, as an example, I don't know, I don't want to just go and spoil this movie. crap, where was I going? I was going somewhere. So yeah, I guess if I ever did a 30-minute review, it's gonna be like all scripted. It's gonna be like, okay, this is the script. Because like, I can't just do it off the top of my head. In the beginning of the movie, so there's this narrator that's going along the movie, kind of like, you know, it's kind of like if you're watching What If and there's the watcher. It's like that, you know, the narrator, right? And he was basically saying how there's these two towns that are very connected for one reason or another. One's in West Virginia and the other is in Ohio. And these two towns are like 10 hours apart or like something like that. But like, you know, they're so far away. But there's so much connection right there. And he basically is like, is it, effectively anyway, is it just dumb luck or is like divinely planned, in which the narrator says a little bit of both. And so I guess it's like, whenever something happens, was it meant to happen? But if it was meant to happen, you know, why? Why does that bad thing happen? I guess like an example, a real life example, you know, whatever your thought is, you know, of the group or whatever, but you know, the idea of the Holocaust, that being a group of people being persecuted to death, to near death, and that's like a really bad thing, but something good, you know, to a degree, of course, depending on your worldview, something good came out of it, that being they got their homeland back. It's just the idea that something really bad happened, but something good can come out of it. And it's like, does there need to be bad? Maybe. Maybe not. But in the purpose of this movie, did the bad things need to happen? Or like, say, so Tom Holland, he plays Arvin, the main character. A lot of bad things happened as, you know, in his life when he was a child, or when he was younger. I'm not gonna say spoilers, but it's like how he grew up. Would he be placed in the situation he was placed in? It's just, I don't want to spoil the movie. This is the kind of movie you should watch and really think about and watch while you're watching it. Now, given, you know, if you're a kid, you should not watch this movie because it's very dark and it goes down a lot of really deep and dark themes. I guess if I knew going into that movie what I was walking into, would I have still walked in there? And I might have, but in the same time, I probably would try to make a case of not, or at least waiting, you know. But yeah, I think I definitely should make a legit review of this, but if I ever did, it would be on my channel, and I'd have to make sure that, like, I, you know, put it out there, like, hey, I'm doing this. Because, you know, if you know me, you'd understand. If you know me and you know this movie, or you go and watch this movie and you're like, hey, that's interesting. That's, you know, him, and he's on about this movie. I really like this movie. And I guess it's just the big idea of, I personally think everything, good or bad, happens for a reason. It's allowed to happen, or it's meant to happen. And there's always a reason, whether it's good for you or good for someone else, or it's just that part of the story. And in this movie, it kind of exemplifies that being, if the things that happened in his life were just slightly different, would he be where he needed to be? And I guess the question would then be, like, did he have to be in that position to do what he ultimately does near the end of the movie? And I think the idea would be that he kind of had to go through what he went through to be in that position to do what he ultimately does. And the near-death experiences he ends up having near the end of the movie is just more of the reason to be He's meant to do something. He's meant to be here. He's meant to be a justice of the innocence and the fairness and the tool to cleanse life, I suppose. But anyway, I don't want to spoil this movie. If I ever did spoil this movie, it would be in that like 30-minute review. But I'm Sam. I'm your Thursday guy for BodyBags. We went in a totally different route this week with Devil All the Time. And I like this movie. But if you want to go watch this movie, it's on Netflix. I'm sure you could buy it somewhere or rent it somewhere. But go into it thinking that this is not just some, oh, this is Friday the 13th, or it's like Black Phone, and you know, it's gonna be silly and blah 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 blah. This is supposed to be more of a serious movie. And I guess if you're still here watching this, just one more thing to say, I love the soundtrack in this movie. I think it's perfect. But maybe not perfect, but it's like near perfect when it comes to the atmosphere and what the movie's about and what happens in the movie. It's just really fitting, I think. But anyway, I will see y'all next week with a legit horror movie. Because, you know, this is a horror movie channel. This isn't just a, hey, this isn't a horror movie. This was something I've been meaning to do, or at the very least kind of do, and I would like to actually do it sometime. So, shameless sponsor to go to my, plug to go to my channel, Flying Kite 8582, or is it 8285? It's in the description. You just check my channel out. I haven't really done much, but if I ever do it, you should probably have the notifications on, just in case I did do it. Because I think if you go and watch this movie, and you know me, you would probably be really interested to see what my legit, like, thought on this entire movie is. And which I gave you kind of a sum up, but it's just the big idea, big picture, like, deep dive breakdown, right? But yeah, I will see y'all next week. Goodbye.